On the campus of the University of Florida, where Anthony Richardson represents one of the best athletes we have seen at the quarterback position in years. Pretty much any category, height, weight, speed, jumps, he's got it all, and we're going to see him unleash his talents today.
I just been working. At times I was very inconsistent throughout the season. So I was just trying to put that behind me. Trying to stay consistent because I know inconsistency is not going to work at the next level. So I just been grinding at that, just trying to, perfect my craft and perfect who I am as a person. And coming out here showcase what I'm able to do. I'm a natural thrower. So just being out there launching the ball and just tossing around with my brothers. That's just what we normally do.
What was it about the inconsistency that didn't sit well with you?
Living up to other people's expectations. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Because I want to be great. I want to be the best in the world. So I know I'll never be perfect, but I try to work towards perfection. And if I'm not working towards that, I get in my head a little bit, or what I used to. But then I started to realize I can't control everything. I can only focus on my job and focus on what I'm able to do. So just working on that and putting that behind me, that's let me become a better player.
When you're looking at him, we play the comparison game. There's no comparison. No. Nobody is looked like him, that moves like him, that throws like him. He is a one of one.
He's absolutely one of one. And so this is all about the imagination. Can he kind of tickle the imagination of an offensive coordinator and head coach in terms of what he could become at the next level? That's what this pro day should be all about.
But make no mistake, if you hit on Anthony Richardson, you're going to hit big. You were talking about top 5 talent in the NFL if he hits his season.
Well, absolutely, because you're going to do something that he's never done before in high school and college. That's realize the potential that he displays when it comes to his athleticism. Because he's a 5-star athlete. This is a developmental prospect, someone that you're saying, we're going to take what he is as a raw athlete and we're going to transform him into a high-level quarterback. We will see if there's a coaching staff that is willing to take on that project, because what he is a project, but he has impressive tools.
And one of the things, though, with Anthony Richardson that you can't pass up is the athleticism, is the what if. This is all, at the end of the day, you may not believe it is, but this is an investment. And no one wants to be known as the person who passed on Tesla or Amazon, because now you have to look back, and then the question is going to be when that owner says, what guy told us not to draft him because of, air quote, the floor, right? We know what the ceiling could be, but what is the floor? But the problem with that statement and the problem with all of that is how long and how much is going to cost you, but how long is it going to take for him to develop into that Corvette, into that beautiful, extravagant house that you're expecting it to be? What happens if it takes 5 years, right? Is he a kid that you want him to play tomorrow? I don't believe he's ready to play tomorrow, not because he can't. It's because he lacks the experience. And with lack of experience, it becomes a roller coaster. And you don't want to allow a young kid to lose his confidence. He's not 22, 23 years old, and he's been around the block. This is a young kid who has a lot of athleticism, a raw talent. And you got to be careful. You got to use kid gloves and make sure you mold him in the right direction. And also, too, find out what he does well. No kid is perfect coming out the draft. But also, none of these guys are transcending right now. They all have some errors. And so that's what these guys are here for. But I can tell you this underwear Olympics we're about to see, he's going to look spectacular. With all this audience, this crowd, he's going to show up. He's not going to not wow you. He's going to step up. He's going to spin that spinning ball. He's going to hit that dog leg left. He's going to hit it on the fringe. He may possibly have that eagle. But at the end of the day, he's still a guy who has a ton of raw talent that you need to harness.
It is about the imagination. It's about, let's take Anthony Richardson, because this is a draft class that we have. You're going to have to take one of these guys. He's coming off the board at some point. If you take him, what does that offense look like with Anthony Richardson? Based on what he does really well, we talk about him being an athlete more so than a skilled passer. So we're thinking run game. We're thinking he needs to be supported by a run game. And the passing game needs to be a vertical passing game. If he can't throw the swing passes, great. Throw him out the playbook. He is going to have to be a guy that is always going to be maybe a low completion percentage passer, but when you throw it, you're throwing for home runs. And so everyone in the building has to understand that if he goes to a team that runs a West Coast offense, it's going to be an abject failure because he's not an accurate passer. But if it's a run game with a vertical passing element to it, that is his best chance for success, because the best things he does is throw it down the field.
The other thing that you're not going to see in a pro day, and talking to guys that went to this school and have great relationships down there, is that you have the component of the intelligence and the work ethic. So when you have a guy who's a project and who's not there, and there's a lot of work and a lot of development that needs to take place, that's a huge part of it, because you have to have the work ethic and the intelligence to be able to put in the time you're going to need to put in to get where you need to go. And he checks those boxes. So I think we're kind of all saying the same thing in that he's not there right now. You can dream on what he can be, and you're placing a bet. You're placing a bet on he's going to realize that, or you're placing a bet that says it's not going to happen. When you watch Stroud go and you watch Bryce go, there's so much polish to their game. And then I think with Levis and with Richardson, they're projects. Like
Yes.
they're not there, and you got to work and hope that you can get them there. And that's where teams are going to again have to place their bets. I will say this also about this one, Buck. When you watch this pro day today, if you were pro Anthony Richardson, you've got some evidence to take back to the draft room, and you can say, look at this throw, look at that throw. If you're anti-Anthony Richardson, you've got some evidence you'll take to this as well. So to me, I don't think this is going to change anybody's mind. I think he's very defined, and the upside is enormous, but he's not there.
With Anthony Richardson, you see a lot of things that you like. We can talk about the toughness and the physicality and all that he possesses in terms of running. We've seen the adversity that he's having to overcome. We talked about the lack of a stable environment that he has in Florida. The one concern, particularly when it comes to young quarterbacks in the league, 1 year of starting experience. We have seen how the Brock Purdy's of the world, Kenny Picks of the world, they had maybe a level of success immediately because they had a lot of reps in college. He enters the league without that number of reps, and it's very similar in terms of
right?
Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't have a high number of reps, and so you just have to understand when he enters the league, he's going to need time to develop because he didn't get all the game reps that some of his counterparts were able to get when they were in college.
Okay, there you put a little extra.
Oh,
yeah, we knew that was coming.
Kembe Mutombo at the roof.
No, sir. Look at him having some fun with that one.
Playing foosball.
But you can see, like, when he really wants to unleash one, like, yeah, you better not have a roof on that stadium. Bam!
You throw it out the stadium.
And bang!
Do you think that's by design?
We've seen that at every pro day, I think.
We have
We've seen
almost
them all
every
hit the
pro day,
ceiling.
yeah. Oh, boy, here we go.
There we go.
And there's the
Always show off.
of the pro
Always
day.
show off.
Oh, goodness. We're playing dominoes out here.
I missed this memo when all the kids started tumbling and doing all this stuff because I never even think about like doing